The Buffalo Bills play football this week. Tage Thompson has a brand new contract. We'll be talking some rundown, trivia, hot takes, and more. This is the Buffalonian Podcast. All right, let's go. We are back with the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Callie, and as always, I'm joined by Dom Loss and Mike Marino, and we're getting right into it with season number 2. It's good to be back. Good to be back in the studio.
Let's roll.
Yeah, let's roll with it. Let's eat.
If you guys didn't know, it's the first episode of season 2. So that should be a FYI.
Okay, the joke isn't funny.
Yeah, the joke. Yeah, it's been said now. It's quite a bit.
Yeah,
the last episode you guys heard was the season 1 finale.
Yeah, for the season 1 finale, we said it like 10 times.
Yeah, but that was funny.
Yeah.
That
wasn't. It's funny.
No, the joke's dead. Season 2, a whole new joke set. That's not on the docket.
No, so scumbag and fraudulence off the table.
No, that's just my language. That's not a joke. That's how I speak. That was a fraudulent joke you made. That's all I have to say. But anyway, we're gonna get right into it with some Bills news to kick it off, and we have a new punter. What's his name?
Sam Martin.
Sam Martin from Denver. Very respectable punter in the NFL. I'm happy with the choice they made. And then, it was
some other, just moves kind of maybe surprising was O.J. Howard getting axed.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people probably thought he was a lock to make the roster when we signed him, especially giving him 3.5 guaranteed.
Right, and we're just honestly, I was kind of upset with that because we're paying him now and he's not on the team. So that, but
it does speak volumes that they're paying him to not be on the team.
Yeah,
like you couldn't hang on to him or whatever.
If you honestly look at it, it's kind of remarkable that they're.
He signed with Houston, right?
Mm-hmm,
yeah, so I know he had a tryout with Cincinnati.
Then they signed someone else. I think they. So. I can't. They signed Cincinnati signed one of those Patriots titans. I got cut. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So. No, yeah.
But, I mean, there's been a lot of roster movement to get to the 53-man, and it's stuff, I knew when they cut Blackshear, he's going practice squad. You know what I mean? Like
I mean, he was good, but, like, I didn't agree with the people being like, oh, we should keep him on the roster. Like,
no.
He doesn't bring anything to special teams, and, like, obviously Singletary and Cook are going to get the bulk of the action.
And Moss. And they kept Moss.
So, I mean, he really didn't have
Duke
a path
Johnson
to
being cut,
getting on the
people were
field.
upset about, and I was like,
he didn't have a path to being on the field. So, yeah, he's rookie, 23? So throw him on the squad, and maybe next year.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing.
He might get poached, too. We don't know. Dable might take him for the Giants.
It's the same thing with the whole Isaiah Hodgins situation of, is he a better receiver than Jake Kummerow? I would say absolutely. But is he going to play wide receiver for the Bills? Probably not. He's going to have to play special teams to make an impact on the roster to be active. And obviously they trust Jake Kummerow in special teams, and they don't trust Isaiah Hodgins. I think that's telling by the fact that they, cut Hodgins and kept Kummerow on the 53-man roster. And
yeah,
guess what? Hodgins is on the practice squad. I think we talk, there's all these talks in the preseason about, oh, we can't cut this guy because they're going to get claimed. The Bills cut, got down to 53 and only five players got claimed.
Yeah.
Kingsley Jonathan got claimed. Luke Tenuta, which is kind of unfortunate because he's a draft pick.
Mike Love didn't he? Or no?
No, he's on the
squad.
I still think the Tenuta draft pick is easily one of the most confusing draft picks of the whole McBean era. I mean, we talked about it when he was drafted. The dude had like a 4.4 relative athletic score. Usually draft athletes that are like 8 or 9 out of 10s. Like, that dude was not an athlete. That was a bizarre pick, but
it was very interesting, to say the least.
He gets claimed by the Colts. I think Jonathan got claimed by I can't remember the team off the top of my head, but
yeah, no.
Nick McLeod got claimed. One of the other offensive linemen, Owings, got claimed, and there's one more person that got claimed that I'm currently blanking on. But again, 5 people get claimed, and it's not any of the I would say 5 bigger names that we thought could potentially be
claimed. No,
like
I'm glad Blackshear's on the squad. I'm glad.
So am I. Because if someone goes down, God forbid, you have...
Even Alec Anderson, I'm kind of happy he's on the practice squad.
Yeah.
I think it goes down to the fact, it's nice to have a very, good 53-man roster where you have all this talent, and then you could have talent again on the practice squad. Obviously, Matt Barkley's a veteran quarterback on the squad. You have Blackshear now, and everyone has a Raheem Blackshear though. That's the thing I never understood about how we can't. Also, Duke Johnson on the practice squad, kind of surprising. Dude's a veteran. I'd assume he could have had a spot on maybe a bad team's 53-man roster, but he chose to stay on the practice squad. Again, it's one of those situations where for teams to make a waiver claim, they have to claim the player, and then they have to have the person on the 53-man roster for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, it's also, Jack Anderson, Rashawn Wallagoose, the 2 rookie draft picks last year that got claimed off waivers. Both those guys got cut again and claimed again. So, I feel like the Bills, know what they're doing. And
yeah. No, and it's been put to test over these past few years with McDermott and the front office, and it's been working. So I don't question much of what they do. I believe in the process, trust the process, as Sean McDermott always says. So to see those guys in the practice squad is nice. It's a peace of mind because in the preseason they didn't look half bad. So if something, God forbid, happens to anyone, like I said, you have depth pieces that could come in and take over. But it's just the fact of like you said, Duke Johnson, a veteran. That was surprising to see that he's still on our practice squad, So it's interesting to see how it played out. But honestly, I mean, the people who got claimed, how many people went to the Giants? Is Dable trying to create Bills 2.0, you think? Or is he like...
I think only McLeod. I think only one player.
I know we said that, I think, last season. We were saying how the Panthers-Bills was a connection. Is the Bills-Giants going to become a connection?
Very well.
I don't...
To New York.
Well, it's interesting because... I don't know. It's interesting because Davis Webb went over there. I believe he got cut. I don't know if he signed back to their practice squad. Obviously,
remember Davis Webb was a Giant before the Bills too.
Who's his? Antonio Williams. That's who it was. I was about to say Antonio Gibson.
No, Antonio Williams.
But I think it's interesting that really we're 1 off season in, and there wasn't really that many notable Bills that went to the Giants. I mean, maybe next off season, obviously the Bills, have some salary cap, things that work out. So
they're gonna have to
maybe next off season is the off season where we really see, Bills to Giants connection, but so far it really hasn't been that. But it's interesting that people were so afraid of that, but we got past it. We have our 53-man roster. Obviously, we've taken our time off between season 1 and season 2. I believe we missed the last 2 preseason games, right?
Yeah, yep. Denver.
The winning streak did end.
The winning streak did end. That's up for
Carolina.
Was the Cody Ford trade?
That was right before cuts.
We didn't cover that, so
no.
I just want to quickly say.
Very quickly
say that was a great move. Get a fifth.
Bobby Hart's on the team.
Bobby Hart is on the team.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah. That's our predictions.
Apparently,
for that.
He played well.
Yeah, I mean,
so, good for him.
Yeah,
I believe Greg Manns is currently injured, isn't he? So that kind of opened up a spot for him.
Yeah.
Thinking of very quickly on the injury report.
Stephon Diggs, no need to worry. He's not injured. He's not a veteran.
I think was McKenzie banged up a bit too?
Yeah, but he was full.
Poyer, I know, is expected to play.
The only 2 people that have not practiced Monday or Tuesday have been Quinton Morris and Tommy Doyle. So I would assume both those guys don't go. I do think, as we transition now from, the 53-man talk to
first game preview, kickoff.
First game preview. Where before we hit that, I just want to hit the depth chart because obviously the official, kind of depth chart was kind of released. I think it's, some stuff.
Anything surprise you?
I think some stuff is kind of interesting. I think it's interesting that Quinton Morris is tight end 2 over Tommy Sweeney. Tommy Sweeney is tight end 3.
Yeah.
Obviously, Quinton Morris being injured probably won't go. So I mean, I assume.
I feel like Quinton Morris might have more of a receiving aspect than Tommy Sweeney.
Definitely more upside. I think he's a better blocker. Tommy Sweeney is not a good blocker. Tommy Sweeney's just kind of a dude.
Yeah, Tommy Sweeney's just there.
He's just
I mean, he played better than O.J. Howard did and earned his spot.
I don't even know. I don't know.
I mean, O.J. Howard was targeted.
I don't know about
very little in the preseason though. I have no idea. I can't really explain why that deal went to absolute crap. But I have no idea.
He didn't really perform. I think
he didn't perform.
I think he's injured. I think O.J. is injured.
Well, yeah, I think even Bean said in his interview, like, he wouldn't be opposed to bring Howard back in the future if like it was an opportunity. And I think that just shows that like maybe the Bills didn't think he was fully healthy.
They didn't saddle that bridge per se.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
like
the
they
bridge
kept
wasn't
it respectable and probably kept the door open. They're probably like, we know you're still dealing with recovery from an injury.
The Achilles, I believe, right?
Yeah, so like
Yeah, I
that's
know
not
about
easy. Not an easy injury to come back from and just start playing again.
No.
Top level.
I
So.
think it's also people's expectations were too high.
True.
Like this guy is not the guy that was killing Clemson in the national championship game in Alabama.
No.
Like this was a dude that was coming off Achilles surgery. Really was kind of meh for the Buccaneers, and it's unfortunate that I'm going had to pay him, but again, I think Quentin Morris really stepping up in the preseason made the decision very easy. Obviously, Sweeney is kind of well respected guy, kind of just there. I would kind of expect Sweeney to be like the game day inactive, especially because you have Reggie Gilliam.
Right.
Reggie Gilliam also kind of that
technically on the tight end list, but as a fullback.
Well, fullback, tight end. I think we also have Reggie Gilliam, but obviously this coming Thursday, I probably expect Sweeney to be active because it seems like Morris won't be able to go.
Yeah.
So I think that's
at least it's a known pairing. Him and Knox have been playing tight end 1, tight end 2 for years now. So
sure. I think what's other noteworthy on the offense. I don't know if you have anything, Mike, but I would say Spencer Brown being right tackle 1. That kind of got.
Oh yeah, it was a little.
That doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me. Well, we did.
I know
talk
you were
about,
saying how well Questenberry was playing, but
I think Questenberry and
then Brown was hurt. But like I think Spencer Brown is going to be the right tackle going forward. Like that's who they want to be in that spot.
Well, yeah, I think.
So they got to give him the reps.
I think Questenberry is kind of a vet that has a very low ceiling, but maybe a higher floor than Brown does this year. And I think they feel like they should give Brown the shot because he has a higher ceiling. So if he hits, if he gets better in pass pro, because I gotta be honest, like I watched the Chiefs game is always on, but
I know I watched it last night. It was on twice, and I only watched it one time, but
only once.
Yeah.
But I mean, in that game, man, like the really clutch plays, if you rewind and look what happened to Spencer Brown, he just got freaking whipped by Melvin Gordon. Melvin Ingram, excuse me, not Melvin Gordon.
No, he was bodied.
Wrong ex-Charger, Melvin. But no, he really struggled in pass pro. Like obviously, he had very good moments as a run blocker. But in pass pro, he really struggled, and he took a bunch of penalties. So
yeah,
I think it's an important year for him to take that next step because right tackle, is an important position, and the Bills really in the Josh Allen era haven't had a very good right tackle. I think Darrell Williams, in 2020 had a pretty good season, but other than that, like hasn't been that great. What Jordan Mills in 18, Cody Ford the failed experience, in 19, and then last year we just kind of shuffling, and then this year we kind of
hope it's Brown.
I guess I hope it's Brown. So.
I mean, I think I'm optimistic with that. I feel like Spencer Brown. I mean, he's. The guy grabbed a beer from a fan. He's just got to dial it back a little bit, I think.
Chill out.
Yeah, chill out a little bit. But I think he'll step up for sure.
And then I guess another noteworthy thing, and I don't want to make all the points if you guys have anyone, but Zach Moss being ahead of James Cook.
I knew that was
hard
too. Yeah, I had a feeling
just
that was going
because
to
he's a
happen.
rookie.
Yeah,
And
experience.
they're different styles too. I mean, like James Cook is like that receiving back. Moss is kind of more of that power runner, go down your throat. So makes sense because I would say Cook is more similar to Singletary than he is Moss. So if Singletary's 1, they're not going to have the exact same as number 2.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Also, kind of a smaller one, Shakir being the third outside receiver. So obviously they have Diggs Davis and then McKenzie as the starters in the slot. Then they have Crowder in the slot. And then they have the first outside receiver being Shakir. I don't know how noteworthy that is because I think that was kind of expected.
Yeah.
And then kind of for defense, Terrell Bernard being ahead of Tyrell Dobson as the wide linebacker, which kind of the A.J. Klein role a little bit, like the third linebacker. Obviously, the Bills don't play a lot of 3 linebacker sets, but
right, yeah.
I think that was noteworthy. Obviously, Dane and currently at the moment, Elam are the starting quarterbacks. I assume Dane to get the start on Thursday, but McDermott did say in his press conference the other day that Elam's not guaranteed to start. It's kind of a riding the hot hand with him and Benford.
Yeah, so. I saw that tweet that a reporter put out about that. Still, no decision has been made, so it'll be a game time decision for sure. But I mean, honestly, those guys have really proved themselves in the preseason, I think, either one. So I wouldn't be opposed. You know what I mean? Would I like to see Elam out there as our first overall pick? Absolutely. So
Yeah,
that's just kind of where my head's at. But
more reps, and then everything else kind of, I think, is kind of expected. Obviously, Shaq being defensive end 5, he played pretty well, but people thought maybe he could pass Boogie or AJ up there.
Boogie
Tim
played
Settle.
well.
Currently, Daquan Jones is currently the starting defensive tackle, aside at Oliver, not Tim Settle at the moment.
Yeah.
But Tim Settle was kind of banged up. He's also, I knew I was figuring one name on the injury report. He's also, seems to be healthy and good to go. So it's interesting. I don't know. You guys are probably going to have to elude me. I don't know if you guys know, but I don't know how many game day actives they have. I know if they don't keep 9 offensive linemen active, they only have 46, I want to say, that could be active.
I think 46 are active on game day.
46, but I think it's 48 if you keep an 9th offensive lineman.
I don't know how any of that works.
I don't really know how any of that works. I think it's going to be interesting, looking at this roster.
I just always remember that it was usually 7 scratches.
I'm going to say we're going to say it was 7. I just think it's interesting if you look at this, roster, like who's going to be scratched. Obviously injuries. Mm-hmm. With Doyle and Doyle and Morris, it's pretty obvious that obviously those are 2 spots, so then you have 5 left at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of interesting, like if you go down the list, like I don't know, they're gonna have to cut. They're not actually cut's the wrong word, but
we still have Trey White on the pup list too.
Yeah, he's gonna have to come back.
He doesn't count as 53 man. He doesn't count as 53 man.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to bring him back at some point.
Well, you're right.
That's what I meant. Like, he's gonna need a spot.
I think Cam Lewis is probably gonna be inactive. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know, Shaq. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he's inactive because are they gonna keep 5 DNs? Spectre, maybe they don't want another linebacker. I don't know. I don't know. It's
kind of a toss up.
It's hard, man.
Point.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting to see, what happens with the roster and how they're gonna trim it down to Thursday. But let's talk about Thursday.
Yeah. I was just about to say. I wanted to go into Thursday a little bit. Super Bowl champs were playing. We have one of those champions on our team now. His name is Von Miller. So that's very exciting. It's a nice little matchup, So it's looking like I don't know. I have the Bills winning. No question.
I think it's gonna be a close game.
It'll be close.
I think the Bills will win, but I think it's gonna be pretty close.
I think all of us have the Bills winning.
So
I think honestly they don't have OBJ, right? And he was a huge part of their playoff.
Odell Beckham is a free agent.
Yeah, but they have Allen Robinson.
They do have Allen Robinson and Cooper Kupp. So,
but Stafford's still that elbow is still not 100%.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's honestly
the Bills
I can
are
confidently I don't. I'm gonna knock on wood saying this, but I feel like the Bills can confidently play.
I think it's gonna be a very entertaining game. I think that's a very good game to kick off the season with.
Right. Yeah, and
Definitely
it'll be
choice.
competitive, but I think the Bills can confidently.
You got Ozzy at halftime.
Yeah, I could not believe.
Think
that.
about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Week 1
it feels
Super Bowl.
like Week 1. Yeah,
With the Week 1 Super Bowl.
Could be the matchup for the Super Bowl down the road.
Right there. Hey, that's a mad choice for a halftime show, but
Why?
It's just Oh,
that's a hot take.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like that steaming pile of dog shit from 1987 that's sitting on the field.
Craig Anderson.
Yeah, Craig Anderson.
Well, the Bills are 2-point favorites. Which is, I think it's a little bit. I would say rare that you're going to Super Bowl winning team. Home.
Bills are ranked number 1 in power rankings by Gridiron.
I think this is the first game of the year, and they're favorites on the road. With the Rams. That makes them
right.
As we're going to talk about in the betting on the Bills pod, that makes them about a 5-point favorite.
Yeah,
on a neutral field. So I don't fully think. I don't know. I think the Bills are. I think what's happening is the Bills. I think most people would say are a better team than the Rams, but I do think it's a little bit disrespectful that the Rams are in favored.
No, yeah. I mean, it definitely to them is.
It's
but
been bet down.
It's
been bet down too. I don't really remember when it opened. I know the other day I saw that it was 2.5, and now it's down to 2. So it has been bet down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think this is where I don't know. It's an interesting conversation with the Bills. Obviously, before we go into the huge preview, because I want to preview some matchups, but it's kind of an interesting conversation about the the national media of. I think a lot of people have the Bills as Super Bowl favorites, number 1 in their power rankings, kind of predicting them to win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, I feel, like there's a part of the national media that's probably going to get bigger because I don't know. And the Bills have a tough start to the season, so they might slip up a little bit. But we're going to hear if that happens. But it's kind of there's a part of the national media that's a little bit turning on the Bills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not touting them as the Super Bowl champions that they were after the playoff game last year.
Well, it's kind of like some people are thinking that the Bills haven't really won anything, which is accurate to a certain degree. They've only
statistics-wise, yes.
They've only went to one AFC championship game. They didn't perform very well in it.
I mean, let's be honest, though. Let's just be honest here. The AFC championship game last year should have been the divisional round.
It should have, would have, could have, man. It should have, would have, could have.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it was the AFC championship.
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs lost the next round.
Yes, I understand that.
Both
But that game was not as competitive and exciting to watch as the divisional round was.
I mean, I would agree with that. 'Cause I think the divisional round could be considered the greatest game of all time. But the game went to overtime. I just think it's one of those situations where the AFC is so loaded that, there's someone said best where, the Bills have probably, an 8-10% chance of winning the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And that's the highest. And there's a 90% chance the Bills don't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think people get surprised by how low those odds are. Obviously, they get a little bit higher once the season ends, and you only have 14 teams left.
Right.
Then,
yeah. Once you dial it down.
Then once you start winning, your odds obviously increase. But I do think it's an interesting fact that some people in the national media are starting to the Bills are one of those, I would say, lovable teams. Josh Allen, incredibly nice guy. Bills Mafia, what they do for their community.
Right.
Small town team.
Town team that's easy to root for.
Old Rust Belt city.
Kind of a team that's been through so much the last
couple decades.
Their entire history of losing first or Super Bowls and that, but it's also they're easy to root for, but now it's kind of becoming the team, becoming the team that can't get it done. I think people think that they're getting too much props, that the Chiefs should be talked about more, the Chargers should be talked about more. So I just think it's interesting that people see the Bills being favored on the road against the Rams as being disrespectful, and the fact that
it's not, though, because I think they're gonna win.
But it's also the fact of should the Bills really be favored on the roads against the Super Bowl champs?
Yes.
And I agree with you in the extent that I think the Bills are gonna win. I think the Bills are better than the Rams, but
they're the better team. They should be favored.
No, I get what you're saying.
But it's kind of
gonna be in their stadium. They're the team to beat. They were the best team.
They're hanging the banner before the
champions.
game.
I get what you mean.
And it's also kind of
world champions Vegas, is also
that's last year.
Champions
this is this year. Vegas thinking the Bills have a better chance to win this game.
I just think people have gotten, I don't want to say fatigue, but last year when the Bills made out that run, I think the Bills might have been favored in that game in Kansas City, and people thought that was crazy. I think what's happening is the Bills have such a good roster and they have such a good team, but the NFL is such a weird sport where the best team doesn't always win the Super Bowl.
No, not at all.
The best team doesn't even always get to the
look at the Jacksonville game.
Absolutely.
Jacksonville is nowhere close to being on the same level as the Bills.
Right.
And they beat us.
And Indianapolis beat us, and Jacksonville wiped the floor with Indianapolis at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So it's
any given Sunday, really.
Yeah.
So
I just think it's one of those situations where the Bills, I think, are the best team. They deserve to have the respect of the best team, but some people are now turning on do they really deserve to have the respect of the best team? Because last time we checked, they couldn't. The last 2 years, they've gotten stonewalled by Mahomes. Is this, So I think it's an interesting, way of looking at, the media being so pro Bills. It's now becoming so pro Bills that people are now switching their tunes and becoming a little bit more anti Bills. So. It's just important you to prove those doubters wrong. What can I say?
Right, but I don't think it's at all disrespectful to be the favorite in SoFi Stadium. SoFi Stadium's not even a home team. LA's not even a home state and city for the Rams. So
I think it's an interesting conversation to have. So talking about the preview, obviously we think the Bills might flood SoFi. Obviously a lot of fans going to the game.
Yeah, the beer showed up earlier this week. I saw the tweet.
Beer did show up. So I want does everyone have an individual matchup they're looking for? We'll go with you, Mike.
Do you mean within the game?
Within the game. I think. Are we talking you can also do a coaching matchup, to be honest, too.
I mean, I think the one everyone's probably going to be talking about, and I've seen a lot about, is the Diggs-Ramsey matchup.
Yeah.
Because, I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like overall that's the one to
Well,
watch,
Jalen
just 'cause
Ramsey's
that's,
still ranked as a
arguably
top
the top corner
Mm-hmm.
there.
And a top 5
I'm trying
wide
to remember
receiver.
in 2020, I just remember the one play Diggs basically manhandled Ramsey and scored a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that was his only catch quoted against Ramsey that game.
But I just remember that was like probably the big matchup. I know I've heard a lot about like Aaron Donald versus our offensive line,
Mm-hmm.
the interior, like what's going to be there.
Yeah.
But I find it kind of interesting you bring up the coaching aspect because I wouldn't have even thought of that. McVay v. McDermott.
I think
the mix.
I think that's
The mix.
Sean Mix.
Sean Mix, yes.
Yeah.
I think that's obviously Joe. You have a one, Joe?
No, I'm pretty much on there with Mike Diggs and Ramsey, and then the offensive line against Aaron Donald, the helmet swinging.
Who's their number 2 corner?
That's a question. I don't know. I honestly
Maybe that's one.
I don't because Darius Williams left, and that's kind of like a weakness in their defense now.
Maybe that's something you can look at.
With Gabe Davis? Yeah,
CB2.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
He's on my fantasy team. I'm hoping for the best with that one.
I think the Bills' secondary offensive pieces have an advantage against the Rams' secondary outside of Ramsey. What I mean by that is like Diggs could probably get taken out by
Knox.
Ramsey, but Knox against the linebackers.
Are you gonna throw Bobby Wagner?
Bobby Wagner is a little washed, man. Like
He's a little on the older side now. Knox could easily make some catches.
I think the biggest thing for the Bills offensively is they have got to stop Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say this: they gotta stop Aaron Donald and they gotta stop Leonard Floyd. And I'm not saying Leonard Floyd's like, a top tier 1 or even probably tier 2 pass rusher, but he could get 10 sacks. And
I think the tight ends are going to be doing some blocking.
But the
receiving.
The problem is Leonard Floyd, lines up against the right tackle. And we talked about Spencer Brown. Like, I mean, it's kind of a show me game, man. Like this is an all pro, dude. Like you gotta actually he might be a Pro Bowl caliber. I'd say Pro Bowl caliber to lineman, but it's a good test for him because he's probably gonna be left 1-on-1 for most of the game because you have so much intention. At 99, and it's also it's for being in the Bills. It's a great test to see, they've added so many pieces to that interior offensive line. With Staffold and now,
if it's going to hold up or
and
not.
now re-signing Bates, they made it a priority to be like we got to improve in this area. And Donald had a pretty nice game last time they played.
Yeah.
So I also thought it was against Cody Ford, but I think that's the key offensively, and then the key defensively is going to be, can they get pressure on Matt Stafford, and
I think Von Miller, Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver are going to be able to cut right through.
Well, especially
Von
without
Miller's going to be motivated.
especially about Andrew Whitworth.
Yeah, they don't
about
have
him.
and
I think Noblum's
if they do block the edges and stop Miller and Rousseau, Ed Oliver's coming screaming through the middle. Like they're going to have a hard time containing the pressure. So
can they stop? Can they stop the run and get some pressure on Stafford? But the big question is like. Cooper Kupp's a beast, man, and Cooper Kupp went off last time they played, and Taron Johnson. This is a sneaky storyline. This is a little bit of a revenge game for Taron Johnson. He got benched last time in 2020 when they played. These teams played. Like he got his lunch. No,
he got sat down. His lunch money and his wallet were taken by the bully and thrown
by
away.
Cooper Kupp, and he got benched for Saron Neal. Now he's a top 10 slot corner. Got the extension. Like this is his game to be like, all right. I'm getting revenge on this guy.
Yeah, and you
best
made a
receiver in
mistake
the league.
benching me years ago for him.
Obviously, the young, experienced corners are going to be tested too, but Cooper Kupp's mostly kind of a slottish guy. So,
right, and if they do throw Cooper Kupp as an outside receiver a couple times, so I mean, it's like they switch him around.
Allen Robinson's no joke. Van Jefferson, I know, is a little bit banged up, so we'll see if he goes. That'd be kind of a huge loss for the Rams because after that, their depth really isn't that great because they traded all those draft picks to win the Super Bowl. So. It's going to be one of those situations for the Bills is that you just can't let 99 take over the game. If you could,
luckily we have a mobile quarterback who could easily evade that if things break down.
I wouldn't say easily, but
not easily. But if he comes through, he can easily run out to the right and try and avoid him.
It becomes this: they're not going to stop Aaron Donald, but they have to contain him.
Yeah,
and if they do that, I think they have a very good chance and probably are going to win the football game. So I would definitely agree. Again, I think hope the Bills win, and then they probably cover, and then I would probably say this game's going to go over. I don't remember what the projected total was. I know it's well over 50.
Yeah.
But
it's going to be a slugfest. Teams going to go back and forth. I would definitely take the Bills in the over for sure.
It's definitely going to be an intense game. And then our final thing of discussion is just because, we've been gone the last 2 weeks, we'll end on this sour note, I would say, of Josh Allen being the 13th ranked player in the NFL. I think honest to God, they're just toying with us. 13 seconds, 13th best player.
Yeah, I mean,
no, it's all player votes though.
Yeah, there's no credibility.
Yeah, I don't hold that accountable to.
It's annoying, yeah, but at the same time,
I could give two shits honestly because it's all player bias on your team.
So.
It's also known this is during the Pro Bowl voting in the middle of the year, and in the middle of the year the Bills started faltering. So I think that could also, they didn't vote after those playoff games.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, if it was by league officials and all of that, I would take it probably more to heart. But players are gonna, of course, be biased to people on their own teams. Like Mac Jones being as high as he was is because he was the Patriots quarterback, and all the Patriots players hyped him up and put him up there. So I mean, it's just Absolutely. I don't really take 13 as a slight at all because it's of course, all the Bills probably put him up that high, and he's within the top 20, top 15, so it's whatever at this point. But I think, this season's a big proving season for him, and hopefully, like you'll hear in our Betting on the Bills podcast, the MVP, I shoot for him as the MVP. So, it's within his grasp. He just, we got to take it and hopefully take the Super Bowl this year, start off strong, week 1 against the last year's champs. I think it's definitely something that can be attained. It's just like Dom said, you got to contain Aaron Donald. You got to, take the game and take a grasp of it and just, run with what you got. Let Ken Dorsey cook up there in the office now, not down on the bench anymore. So, but that's going to do it for our first Bills topic of season 2. We'll be right back with the Buffalonian Podcast after this.
And we are back with the Buffalonian Podcast, transitioning from our Bills talk to our first Sabres talk of the season.
We got some real news, too.
Yeah, I know. Got a little news. Obviously, I saw the tweet today that we're Casey Milstat days away from the start of the season, 37.
That's crazy. It's coming up so fast. Holy cow!
Yes, it's kind of it's insane to think that in just about.
Bills off season feels so long, and then we're already back into Sabres season.
We're only a few weeks away from rookie camp and
prospect challenge.
Yeah, they're doing that next week. Yeah,
Fan Fest preseason. Yeah,
I'm excited for this season.
Joe and I are gonna go to more preseason games this year and watch
them lose like last year. I mean, that was that was Ralph Kruger still, wasn't it?
No, it was Donnie.
Don started the season.
It was Donnie Meatballs. But obviously, the big news, I would say, It depends on what you look at.
Wait, I want to say one thing before we get into.
Yeah, what I want to be is wait.
One thing I saw. This was a tweet I saw.
Oh God.
Sabres will have a cup before the Maple Leafs.
Whitney.
That was off the spin. Chicklets.
Yeah, that was Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I'd kind of.
Well, we're the kryptonite for the Maple Leafs, so you mean?
I would hope that they would win a cup for the Leafs.
Is the kryptonite for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
I think it's plausible. I think that's a plausible take. It's not steaming.
I think it's plausible.
It's lukewarm.
It just matters, what, Matthews has 2 years left on his contract? Right, 2?
Yeah.
So it kind of matters. Matters if he re-ups, then probably I would assume that they eventually win a cup. But no, it definitely is. I
just saw that. I wanted to get that.
The NHL is also a little bit like the NFL in the fact that the best team doesn't, win every year. So definitely a possibility that the Leafs, even for all the talent they have at this proper moment, don't win a cup for the Sabres. But
yeah.
Let's just get the Sabres to get one. I don't care who.
No, yeah. we gotta get one first.
Get one first. But so obviously, I like how Mike described it as 1A, 1B kind of news. But we'll go with the 1A news first. Of Tage Thompson signing a 7-year, $50 million contract extension.
Yes,
which is about 7.14 average annual value.
Too much right away. We thinking another Skinner situation here.
So here's the thing. This is how I view it. Okay. This is a guy who broke out with Granato, shifted to center, so completely new position, was given top line minutes, and we saw once Tuck came with him and Skinner was there, he performed even better. So they're banking on the fact that you still have Skinner long term, you have Tuck long term, having Thompson long term. They're banking on that continuity with that line and that he'll still produce 30 goals, 60, 70 points a year. And they would rather take the chance of paying him $7 million now rather than having to pay him $9 million tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think what this deal is it's I don't really want to compare anyone to really Josh Allen, but Tage Thompson, I guess, a little Josh Allen-y in that he had a couple year down years, and then all of a sudden he has his
not down, but like mediocre.
Tage is a little different. He was bad.
Yeah.
But
sorry, I was thinking more in Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen is more mediocre. This is where the comparison is kind of But after Josh's after 2020, his first legit elite year, the Bills immediately next offseason gave him a contract extension that made him the second highest player in the NFL.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden,
at the time,
and now a year later, he's sixth. And I think that's what the Sabres are hoping for, is that they're going to make this bet that they're first off they're paying Tage Thompson. He's now 29th. He's not even 29th because he technically has one more year left on his cheap contract, and then the concession kicks in. But I mean, as the proper moment, I think he's 29th. I think he actually might be 30th because JT Miller just signed a contract extension.
His was 8, yeah.
Of his $8 million. So technically, I think he's going to be 30. So he's going to be the 30th highest paid center, which is really second line center money. And you got to think more people are going to sign for more than that.
Right, yeah.
So that number is going to get... I mean, what they're hoping for is that he's going to still be hopefully... near. I don't think he'll be as good as he was last year in the way of... I think his shooting will regress a little bit. Mm-hmm. But again, as we talked about, if his playmaking and defense can jump up a little bit, his overall impact probably will stay close to the same. If he could get 30 goals, 30 assists for 60 points, that's a solid second line center year. And so if they could do that, and he gets his contract might look like a bargain, because if you look at his comparables, Robert Thomas broke out this year, center for the St. Louis Blues. He signed an 8-year, $8 million per year contract extension.
Yeah.
Josh Norris for the Senators, he signed an 8-year, nearly, I think it was 7.95. Mm-hmm. So if you look at those two guys are getting paid more than Tage, and Tage kind of had a similar way of breaking out last year and now getting paid for it. So
right, yeah.
I think it's also, Mike makes a really great point about how this is really this, save face, and the fact of they didn't want him to get another 30-goal season, and then all of a sudden, it's a little bit like the Sam Reinhart situation of
he wants money.
He's now arbitration eligible, and he says, give me $9 million or I'm going to arbitration. I'm walking in a year.
Yeah, this is the only thing I could see being a little different with Tage Thompson. I think he meshed well with the coach and the team, and maybe if he had broke out and he wasn't signed, he would have been definitely more expensive than the $7.14 he's getting. But I feel like he might have taken a little bit less compared to when Jeff Skinner scored 40 goals. You knew you had to overpay him to keep him here. I think Tage Thompson would be more likely to want to be here rather than... Not saying Jeff Skinner didn't want to be here, but that's a good point.
That's a good point. Jeff Skinner, 1 year with the organization, scored 40 goals, really kind of a turmoil year. Mm-hmm. Tage Thompson's been in the organization for a couple years now, really broke out because, of his coaching, and, credit to him as well. Hard work pays off.
Right, yeah.
So I think, his contract, is also, it's a leap of faith for the organization. This is kind of like the first move, I feel, for Adams that hasn't been, I would say...
Kind of like his boldest move.
I would say bold is a great word to use. It's kind of bold. Well, I mean, I don't know if you would consider waiting out for Eichel to be bold. I don't know. That's pretty.
The Eichel?
Waiting Eichel out, not just selling for the summer, waiting.
Yeah, that's kind of bold.
That was bold. Bold signing. Signing.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of a move that hasn't been. I don't think everyone's received positively. I think this is kind of a little bit of a mixed review because people are concerned about him, not being the guy he was.
He only had one breakout year. All the other years were kind of...
It's definitely a gamble, and I think
I think it's a gamble I would definitely capitalize on. I feel like
I'll let you finish. I just want to present a question.
Well, no, if he can replicate that, and I think this season's going to show whether or not he can't. I think it's a good move, like you were saying. He's gonna try and walk if we can't give him more money after he replicates. So keep him now for a long time with a smaller amount of money.
I'll present you this question. Does this contract extension change your opinion at all on the trade for Tage Thompson, the O'Reilly trade?
I don't think it will. I think if he continues to play well and you say you got a second line center out of it, it's nice. But especially with the Ryan Johnson asset maybe becoming just a second round pick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, think of also what's going on. The other part of the trade too. It doesn't. I mean, it's still. I'd say like the Sabres lost the trade, but they also got a winning asset in the trade.
Yeah.
So I think it doesn't really change my opinion, but it's also, I guess it's interesting too to look at Adams as a GM now, as a guy that this is kind of his guy now. Mm-hmm. This is his contract. This is his gamble per se. And I think it's a nice thing because we talked about how he's been very patient. Patient is the key word. I just said about the Eichel thing, like boldly being very patient. I think there was some concern maybe is he being too patient. Is he pulling a Jason Bauer or as Mike's favorite GM of all time, Darcy Greer, like maybe sitting on his hands a little bit too much. But I think this is a kind of move that shows that when he can be aggressive and he feels like this is a move that he has to make, or not has to make, but is confident in, like he'll be willing to make make the big deal. And I think it's interesting too because he I think I said earlier in the season 1 of maybe they try and extend Cousins because Cousins really hasn't broke out yet.
Right. I think this season he will though. I think
that's the thing. Maybe they try and do that too. Of like maybe they pay Cousins like $5 million and be like, hey, he's not worth $5 million right now, but we think he's gonna break out this year. And if he breaks out, he looks like a genius.
Yeah.
No, is that too many? Is that one too many gambles? Gambling on top.
Right. You don't want to give away all your your money.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also that might be a little bit of a riskier gamble because you're gambling on a guy that hasn't even broke out yet. Mm-hmm. Same thing if maybe Samuelson, maybe they're like, you know what, we're gonna pay him $4 million, get him signed because they think he's gonna be a top 4 D-man. It's interesting because last offseason signing Dowling to the Bridge is looking honestly like one of Adams' weaker moves as a GM.
Mm-hmm. But at the time, you can't fault that.
No. See, at the time, you can't. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really go back now and be.
It is a little hindsighty, but it's just the fact though is that you gave him the Bridge deal, but then you gave him top pair minutes. You gave him power play one time, so he's gonna get point production, and that kind of gets a defenseman paid a little bit. Especially because he had 50 points. I mean, he had a 50-point season.
Yeah.
And I think all of us would consider that, he had a very good second half, but he kind of was mediocre at best in the first half. So, if he puts it together, all of a sudden you're kind of, in danger of like, you kind of had to pay him what he wants or, he's just going to kind of do what Reinhardt did. And then, obviously you hope Dahlin likes the organization city enough. But, I mean, like,
I feel like when Reinhardt left, the organization was still kind of like, we didn't know what was happening. You didn't know like the coaching staff what would happen or like prospects and everything.
I feel like too much uncertainty.
I feel like now they know the path. They know like what they're preaching. Adams and Granato are preaching.
They're vibing with the message that they're giving.
They know
them.
we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, but the thing
you can see,
I feel like when Reinhardt left, it was still tail spinning.
There's an interview with someone on the Sabres. I don't remember who it was. It was recently, saying like how they can really get behind the message the coaches are giving and they want to play for this team because it's like they're really working toward it. They're not trending backwards and down anymore.
Yeah, they're in a positive trajectory. It's just interesting because like if Dahlin has another 50-point season per se, and maybe even 60 points, and he has that like
he's signed for 2 years.
2 years at $6 million, I believe. Okay. Yeah, and then next offseason, are you gonna offer him 8x9? That's what's going to take. Like, if he has another 50, 60-point season, like, $9 million is kind of, you start with that. And I don't know. That's kind of, that's a lot of money, man. And, like, honest to God, like, I last offseason, they probably could have got it done 8x7,
Yeah, but then if Dahlin was still.
But then if he busted, but that's
bad, yeah.
But that's kind of like the same thing in the Thompson situation now. It's like if he busts, it's bust. But, like, I don't know. It's interesting that they didn't gamble there, but I understand. It's a little hindsighty. It's a little hindsighty.
Yeah, I can't fault it at the time.
I can't fault it. I can't fault the logic at the time, but I gotta be honest. Like we killed Botterill for bridging Reinhardt, right. But like at the time, like Reinhardt was a 50-point forward.
That's true.
But like I think everyone, I just think everyone thought Reinhardt had another gear to go. I think everyone deep down believes Dahlin had another gear to go, but they got to get him out of Kruger, and then at the time he was kind of I agree with the situation at the time, but a little hindsighty now of that decision. While it wasn't bad at the time, is unfortunately probably going to eventually bite them.
Right.
But it's nice to see again this Tage Thompson situation. Nice to kind of get that we're not that looming over your head anymore.
Right. You don't have to worry about losing him either soon. So I mean, and hopefully he produces. That's all you can hope. But
another 30-goal season, and
then he's worth it.
Then,
I mean, he's just got to stay consistent. That's really it.
Yeah,
that's all I would ask.
He's not going to shoot 15% every year, but if he can shoot 10 to 12 and improve, as we've been saying, pound the table, other facets of his game, I think he'll definitely be worth the money that he's making. And
right.
Talking about signing, I know this isn't the 1B news, just this isn't the 1B news, but I'm gonna
keeping on the topic.
I'm gonna quickly jump into that. UPL signed a 2-year deal with the Sabres.
It's a smart move, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting to finally get that kind of out of the way. I believe his second year is one way, so I think that might have been something they were fighting over. Obviously, if you're a 2-way contract, you make less money in the AHL.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if that's what they were fighting for.
Maybe.
And then it's up to him this year. This is kind of a
Is he made of glass or is he not at this point? He's got to prove himself.
It's a prove it year for him. And can you even be an NHL player? Can you be an NHL goalie?
That's the question.
Not even a starting NHL goalie. Can you be an NHL goalie? That's the $1 million question of him, and we're gonna.
You know what?
Find out.
Maybe these jerseys, these really cool goat head jerseys, will manifest the inner Ryan Miller and have him come out.
Hasek.
Yeah, and Hasek. Yeah,
and Baran.
And Baran.
Like,
yep.
Honestly, that whole era was.
I think it might manifest.
Poor Marty Baran,
yeah,
he was good. He was just sandwiched in between Hasek and Miller.
Yeah, that is.
We
tough.
love Marty Baran here. It's great personality.
It is remarkable looking back at that era and realizing that was probably the best era of Sabres hockey.
The red and black, not even the team's
colors. They made
96 to 06.
They made the cup in 99.
That was a trivia question.
Mm-hmm.
What?
How long was the Goathead era?
And
who was the only player to play his entire career in the Goathead era?
David Key.
Yeah. Trivia question.
Yep. We're throwing it back.
Come on now.
Technically, it was only 9 seasons though.
Yeah, it's true because of the
04-05
lockout. Yep. But 99 they make the cup final. Obviously, they had some Hasek, some nice runs there. Obviously,
06.
It's kind of remarkable. I believe the last game they wore the Go-Heads was Game 7 in Carolina.
It was.
I feel like
I think that wasn't that another trivia question.
Quick sideway. I think that loss has to be on the Mount Rushmore in Buffalo's sports losses.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of them.
Yeah. I was thinking
Buffalo
about it.
Sports have taken a.
It's got to be
number 1.
It's got to be wide right.
Wide right.
13 seconds is probably 2.
That one's getting.
I don't know if that's recency bias, but
no goal. That's pretty tough.
No goal is probably 3, and then losing Game 7 to Carolina on very similar to what the Bills did last year.
What about Winter Classic shootout to Crosby?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that was the Winter Classic.
Yeah, but still,
that was the first Winter Classic.
But that didn't mean anything. I mean, okay, I shouldn't say. I apologize. It doesn't mean anything. But that had no playoff. Rep.
Yeah, but that's still
the only one. The honorable mention probably Music City Miracle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
I think I don't know.
Should never been in that situation.
No. It's just like the wide right. Never should have been in that situation.
Not going to spiral out of the.
Obviously, we can't forget about the Bandits this year losing Game 3 of the NHL final at home.
Yeah. And I mean, if we want to count, minor league teams,
random stuff,
I shouldn't say AHL teams, the triple OT, all that stuff.
Listen, there's been a lot of heartbreak, but I have to think about that.
I think these goat heads are going to manifest something in the Sabres, though.
Well,
the logo's a little different, a little updated.
Yeah, they did.
So
they cleaned it up.
The jerseys are going to be a little updated.
I'm hoping.
They'll probably same format.
Yeah.
I was watching Sabres Live, the one last week, and they had Tage Thompson on, and they're asking him you excited for it? And he was like, they got a sneak peek of it at the end of last season. So all the players know.
Alex Tuck was really excited about it too in that press conference.
Well, I remember before COVID, the 50th season, the 90s night. We're like, are they going to bring back the goat heads? Is this going to be the big surprise? And they let everybody down with not wearing even the 50th anniversary jersey.
Yeah,
and it was just a massive letdown. And I think
fan service.
Yeah, you gotta bring the fans in.
Right.
And then I know we see all these ads on the jerseys now.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, if there's an ad on this goat head jersey, I might throw up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those situations.
Ads on the hockey jerseys look atrocious.
No, it's just
not
terrible.
It's not
terrible.
But I like what the Sabres are doing in the fact of this year might not be the most successful year, but you're going to see a lot of interesting young players. You're going to see Ryan Miller get his number retired in the rafters, and you're going to see
put him up.
And you're going to see the GOAT. I mean, the return of arguably the greatest jersey in
I think we can say the Sabres have had
that's
some of the best jerseys ever.
That's controversial.
They've had the best. 07 to 20 is just a dark era.
Yeah. Navy blue.
I was thinking about this too. The
Reebok era.
Yeah. You know what? I was thinking about this too. Thinking about Carolina Game 7. It was like we were 3-4 years old when that happened.
Mm-hmm. What year? 06?
Yeah.
4. Yeah. I was 4.
So was I.
I was technically 4. You were technically 3.
Oh, I was 3. Yeah.
July.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting to think of how much we care about the Go Heads, even though we were never we were never really there when they were
No.
I don't think I went to a game
honestly, if you ask a lot of older fans, they do not like that.
No, I gotta admit, people
are. It's like the red helmets. They're like, that's not for us. That was technically our childhood, quote unquote, that capped it off, right? When we were born, like we said, we were 3 and 4. So seeing that come back is a nostalgic thing. But for people who were around before, they're like, this is not the Sabres.
I love it as an alternate.
Because they're mad. They're mad that in the mid-90s when they switched from the Royal Blues, which are dope jerseys, I'm not gonna lie, but they were mad that they switched those jerseys, but those jerseys are also dope. I mean, think about it this way: they got that to happen, and when we were 3 and 4, when we were 4, they switched from those jerseys to the Slugs. Come on,
Slugs are bad.
The Slugs might still come back as the retro, I hear, because this is an alternate. You know what I mean? Because this is only the alternate jersey now. It's the so they still have a retro throwback you could do is the Slug.
Yeah,
imagine they don't say anything to anyone. They come flying out of the locker rooms with slugs.
Honestly, if they did it as a reverse retro for 1 game, 2 games, that'd be electric.
What if they did a golden slug?
That would be disgusting.
No, the jersey behind us. Yeah,
that would be disgusting.
Yeah, we don't have to. That's just a bad. This is something we grew up with. Most of the part.
Okay, I'm just gonna say
Bills jerseys.
I'm just gonna say
Bills jerseys were navy blue.
The Reebok era of the NHL, all the jerseys were ugly.
Let's just put it this way: we grew up with the Bills being terrible with terrible jerseys,
yes.
The Sabres being good, and then being trash with trash jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
Both jerseys are very nice.
But now we got both jerseys that are good. We got the Bills that are good. The Sabres are looking up
Mm-hmm. No,
it's looking nice. Fine, we're 20. Finally, it's all. We got both aligned. It's right. They look good and they play good.
Yeah, no,
right. It's starting to come. It's starting to come together. But very exciting for the return to go ahead. Obviously, I think everyone was kind of. I don't want to say. No, I'm going to say they were begging for it. They wanted it.
Yeah.
And so very quickly, obviously. We were talking at the end of season 1 about, the Atlantic teams. We left off on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, they were formerly the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions. Obviously, they lost to the Avs, but they're now 3-time Eastern Conference defending champions because they beat the Rangers and then obviously lost to the Avs, as I just said, in 6 games. It's another team that's going to be above the Sabres in the standings, no doubt. And, listen, man, the Atlantic's really hard. For Tampa Bay to be the number 3 team in the Atlantic is it's a pretty tough pill.
Team has made 3 straight Stanley Cups, yeah. Yeah,
3 straight Stanley Cups. And listen, I think we're starting to see, tints in the armor? Is that the little the armor is getting a little, I don't know.
Faded?
Faded? I don't know.
Dinged up?
Dinged up. Dings in the armor.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. The gist is
their peak, they're starting to head down.
They're a little bit past the prime.
Come to an end, yeah.
They're starting to become past the prime. The guys are getting older. They had to pay, extensions to, Cirelli, Cernak, and Sergachev.
You know what? But they had their success.
Yeah,
they got 2 rings out of it.
But that's one thing for the Sabres is that you can see that this team is starting to fall apart. They had to trade away McDonough for pieces spare parts.
At least they're not Vegas,
right? Yeah, Vegas.
Shell out.
That's
their
true.
Starters for nothing.
That's true. But obviously, Tampa's going to be one of those teams that's still going to be good for a little bit. But I feel like they're starting to become Boston-y. Boston. We talked about
the older team. That kind of
Boston
thing.
is literally in
the Boston's last is the last dance. I would say Tampa's 3 or 4 years where Boston was.
Stamkos is He's what, 31 now?
32, something
32?
like that.
Hedman's not young.
Yeah, no,
No.
it's
Kucherov's almost 30.
The only one who's kind of young is
the light
Vesey.
at the end of the tunnel is growing closer and closer at this
So,
point.
yeah.
And the time to strike is getting
I
closer
don't know.
and
I still
closer
believe
and
in John
closer.
Cooper though. Like he's still a good coach.
Nah, he's a good coach.
So
I really
do you remember?
I really
the
wanted him.
outside rumor when that he wouldn't re-sign with Tampa and that the Sabres would hire him. Do you remember that?
Yes, I was hyped
Oh
about
my
that.
goodness.
I really wanted Tampa to.
Same with the Stamkos.
I really wanted Tampa. That was just a money grab though. I really wanted Tampa the year they won their first cup to like lose in the first round because I wanted Cooper to get fired and then the Sabres hire him. Because I was like, this is a good coach.
You gotta give credit to John Cooper working his way up.
No, he did. Yeah,
So-
lawyer.
Yeah, because I think he was what USHL,
Yeah, knows the law.
and then he went to AHL.
Cool guy.
Yeah.
NHL. So good for John Cooper.
Good for John Cooper. Good.
Respectable
We
coach.
listen. This is we can respect Lightning and what they did, and
Right.
hopefully they start tailing off, and I think they're about to. Lastly, again, we went over a little bit the forward lines. We're gonna start over with our defense pairings now. We're gonna start with our first one for today. We'll just make it nice and simple, which I think is
Are we all in agreement here?
I think it's Donnelly and Samuelson, and
Yes, sir.
I think it's I think
Yes, sir.
I think at the end of the year, I don't know if these guys will be the best
Oh.
two defensemen because I think Owen Power could potentially
Yeah.
make a name for himself, but these are your two best defensemen going into the year.
I would agree 100% because like we've said many times, Owen Power's only played 8 games, so you can't really gauge where he's going to be at necessarily. Well, hopes are definitely high and it looks like it's going to be good, but we don't know. We got to wait it out. But
Only time will tell.
mm-hmm.
And I think,
Gotta flip that hourglass over and wait till the end of the season,
Yeah, I think what we saw with Dallin of him potentially, having that really first fully 82-game elite season, and then Samuelson, just seems like the prototypical pair for him, defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get maybe a little bit more offense, a little bit more puck moving out of him? Maybe. I think that's an area of improvement for him. So
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
See, I told you it's the first defenseman pair. It's kind of like the first forward line of
I feel like all the pairs are kind of. We're gonna be kind of.
I don't know. I
Maybe
think
you throw a
What
wrench
do
and
you
stuff.
have second line? What's coming next?
I can't tell you.
That's next week.
We can't spoil.
Oh, I thought we were doing them all. I thought we were doing. Is that what you just said?
No.
Oh, I had all 3 queued up. Never mind then. I'll save that for next week.
Yeah, we're doing.
I know mine.
Listen, we got. Listen, okay.
We got to. We have off season. We got to spread it out.
My guy. Listen, I was pretty hyped about saying that. Yeah, Casey Mills got 37 days away. We were still 37 days away. Like that's
Yeah, we got to wait a little.
We still
bit.
gotta get
Right,
some
right.
content out. I know we're gonna get the prospect challenge coming up, the fan fest, training camp, and all that stuff. But mix in with all this cheap stuff.
Yeah, no, we gotta make sure everything. We gotta spread the wealth.
Spread the wealth.
Spread the
I like that.
Spread the wealth. But that's gonna do it for our Sabres topic for this episode, and we'll be right back with the rundown after this.
Welcome back to the Buffalonian Podcast, and I will be your host on the first rundown of the season 2. Obviously, we ended season 1 with talking some Blue Jays and Bisons, and we're still gonna lead off with those two teams for the start of season 2. Obviously, we talked about the Sabres season being about a month away, the Amherst season closing in too, so they'll probably be added in the red down, but the Bison season's almost over, so I think we're going to stay at 2 for a little bit. We're going to do a little bit of a trade-off. Here we go. So for the Blue Jays, there was 20 games played when we were away on hiatus, and the Jays are a solid 14-6 in those 20 games, and currently sporting a 5-game winning streak. The Jays now sit at 75-59, which is currently 3rd in the AL East, but they're actually only a half game back of Tampa Bay for 2nd place in the division. Obviously, the Jays are currently the last AL wildcard team. They're currently, there's 6 teams this year, so they're 6 out of 6. But again, Tampa Bay's only a half game ahead of them, and Seattle is the other team that's currently in the AL wildcard picture, is currently only a half game ahead of them too. So really it's anyone's game for the top AL wildcard spot. And, I can't believe I'm really saying this, but the division is also somewhat in play. I believe currently they're 6 games back of the Yankees as of, recording. So, you never know. I don't think we ever thought that number would get down to single digits, but here we are on September 6th and we're saying it. So, currently, the Jays are halfway through a crucial series against the AL East rival Baltimore Orioles. Going into this series, the Jays only had a 2.5 game lead on the Orioles to stay in the AL playoff picture. But, we started off strong Monday with a doubleheader sweep of the Orioles, winning 7-3 and 8-4. The Jays in the second game were led by none other than Bo Bichette hitting three home runs. A 3-home-run night for Bo Bichette, silencing all the critics about his poor defense. He doesn't need the glove, man. He just needs the bat. Cranks three out for the boys. And then game one was led by a great pitching performance by Kevin Gausman, going 6 2/3 innings, only giving up 2 runs and striking out 6 batters. So, a great way to start the series. Obviously, they have 2 games left, but now they're, 4. They have a little bit of a cushion, 4.5 games up on the Orioles. And then, they finished that series this Wednesday. And then this weekend, they actually play a 3-game set in Texas against the Rangers, who are, really struggling. So, really important for the Jays to get those 3 games. Really crucial for them because, the schedule gets really hard after that with a 5-game home set against Tampa Bay next week. You heard that right. 5 games. There are 4 games being played, and then there's a doubleheader, so it's 5 games. It's an absolute crucial series for, the Jays to potentially, be the top AL wildcard team in the playoffs. So let's go Blue Jays. Finally, we're going to turn to our beloved Buffalo Bisons, who unfortunately did not have the great play of the Blue Jays. The Bisons lost. They split their home series they played 3 series while we were away. They split the home series against Lehigh Valley. They lost 4-2 to Columbus at home. And then they lost 4-2 to Worcester on the road. So in those 18 games, their overall record were 7-11. Just absolutely brutal for the Bisons. They now sit at 66-62, and they're 7 games back of Jacksonville for the first place in the division. And again, the Bisons are back to sporting a negative run differential of -10. Currently, the Bisons this week are hosting Gwinnett, who are currently it's a 6-game home set, and the Gwinnett currently sits at 61-67. So again, kind of, a really winnable series for the Bisons, and they really need all these games. So that's really hope for them to, up their performance. The best moment for the Bisons in the last 18 games while we were on hiatus was August 26th. They won 6-0 versus Columbus. The Bisons used 7 pitchers to 2-hit the Clippers, and they were led offensively by Otto Lopez and Rafael Latigua. It was nearly a 1-hitter. They gave up a hit in the 9th inning, and then actually the first batter of the game hit a base hit off a really weird spin ball in the infield, and it was really, it was potential for a no-hitter, but really good pitching performance for the Bisons. A rare shutout win for the Bisons. So, let's hope, the Bisons and Jays, start season 2 for us off of a bang and get some wins. So, let's go Bisons, let's go Blue Jays, and we'll be back with the Would You Rather.
Welcome back to the Buffalonian Podcast, rolling in with the Would You Rather. I don't think it's anything too spectacular to start off the season, but if you're a pro football player, would you rather play in a game that's scorching hot and humid or freezing cold?
Oh, that's tough.
So, like Frozen Tundra, Green Bay, first week of January.
Or Miami
week 1.
Oh. Huh. See, that's tough. Very tough, because I myself like the cold more than the humid heat. So I'm just thinking, though, like my fingers and all, in the cold, it's like gripping the ball. It's going to, like, you get it hits your hand, you get the tingles. You know what I mean? Like, it's very different. Like, I don't know. It's just interesting. It's an interesting.
Yeah, growing up in Western New York,
I feel like I would say cold just because I'm used to it, like being around here. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like growing up in Western New York, dealing with all the cold, you should say the cold, but I'm gonna say the heat because
the thing is, I would have to go over and pump oxygen into me.
But my guy, I wouldn't be able to play in the cold. Like, I'm a twig. Like, I'm gonna be freezing. I'm gonna be like, I'm frozen.
I'd be able to play.
I wouldn't be able to run around and catch a football, especially going, Josh Allen throwing like 50 miles an hour. Like, I didn't put my hand in front of that.
No, exactly.
At least the heat, like, you get a nice little sweat in,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Sun's out, guns out. So
I'd pick the cold.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was anytime doing anything physical in the sun, and the heat is it takes so much out of you.
Cold.
At least the cold, like
It honestly
when you're moving
replenishes
around and
you.
everything, you get warm.
Yeah.
It's hard to get cool. So
Yeah, you have to find some
I'm picking the
shade.
cold.
There's also the humidity in Miami,
humidity, yeah.
but I would still put the heat on.
I mean,
I'll
100
check it
degrees
out.
in California is different than 100 degrees in Miami.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot more bearable, but
So I mean,
that was a good one, Mike.
I'm just gonna roll right into trivia.
Yeah, no.
With you guys.
Let's hit it. Come on.
Let's go right into
Hit
it
us.
here.
I'm feeling froggy, motherfucker. Let's go.
So we'll do the first question. We'll start with our Buffalo Bills. So
Okay.
this team, they last made recently, they had a playoff drought going. The last time they made the playoffs was
Fortunately,
99.
yes.
Okay?
Yes.
How many Pro Bowlers were on that 99 roster?
4.
Do you have an answer or just
6.
2?
Whoa.
Okay, wait.
Who was it?
Wait. Before you say it, let's think. Bruce Smith.
99.
Bruce Smith.
Smith.
No.
Bruce Smith was on the 1999.
On 99?
Hey, he was.
I don't believe so.
Music City Miracle.
No, he wasn't a Pro Bowler.
Oh, we're talking about like
Pro Bowl.
I
Not the roster. I said
I
Pro
thought-
Bowl. Did I not say Pro Bowl?
No,
Oh, he said Pro Bowl.
I thought
No, Pro
nah.
Bowlers.
I
How many
thought
people on the Pro
I was
Bowl?
thinking of you were saying
No,
like,
not
as like
that
a
were Pro Bowlers. They were in the Pro Bowl that year.
4 was a good guess. I probably would have said 4.
Yeah, 2.
2 Eric Molds.
Joe DeLamalure?
Dude, that dude was
I'm kidding. I'm just tossing names
Okay,
out,
so the
man.
one I know,
Is
Ruben
Steve
Brown.
Christie? Is Steve Christie?
I knew Ruben Brown was one.
Ruben Brown was the
Ruben.
offensive guard.
And Sam Gash, fullback. I don't know who he is, but he made the
Make-
Pro Bowl.
Fullbacks matter, man.
He made the Pro Bowl, those two.
Congrats.
My favorite Bills player of all time, Doug Flutie, was a Pro Bowler the year before.
Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah, then you started. How many playoff games did you start this year?
Yeah, and why did we lose?
Because there was a forward pass.
So
Oh my
no.
God.
We'll go to question 2.
All right, what's your Sabres question?
Buffalo Sabres question. Obviously, ties are a thing of the past in the NHL. Who's the last team the Sabres tied, and what year was it?
When did they implement the shootout?
It should be rather obvious when they implemented the shootout.
I don't. Wow. 2000s. What? When was it lockout? 2005-06 probably. Is
That
that?
was the first year of shootouts, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All
right, then,
let's
yeah.
go.
Mhm.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So 2004 and 5 wasn't the year. So 3-4 is probably the year that it tied someone. I would assume.
Yeah. Who did they tie is the question.
No, see, we're not going to be. You know what? I'm going to go really ballsy.
We're going to go 04.
No, the year's
Yeah,
obvious.
yes, the year was 2004.
Yeah.
We're going to the
I
team.
thought-
You want the team or?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants the team. He doesn't want the year. We can figure
Well,
it
I
out.
did say year.
He said the
Oh,
year
did
and
you?
the team. Yeah.
Year was
Okay, well, we got
50%.
Listen, we got. Okay.
March 27th,
Wait,
2004.
I'm
if that helps.
going to predict that it is a team that doesn't exist anymore. The Atlanta Thrashers.
Okay.
No.
No, it's not.
Boston.
On March 27th, 2004, the Buffalo Sabres tied the Pittsburgh Penguins 2-2.
That was my second guess.
Oh, okay, sure.
No. I was between Pittsburgh or Boston, and I just blurted out
I just thought it was
Boston.
going to be like a meme answer, Atlanta. To be honest.
Oh,
That
God.
was a worthy guess. but
Yeah.
No,
that was a
Penguins.
hype guess. Like,
Final question, Buffalo question, region question.
Okay.
They have a pretty famous cemetery, Forest Lawn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what year it was established?
1847.
That was actually very close.
1850.
That was even closer.
1853.
1849.
I thought it was going up. I thought, yeah. Oh man, that's we were stumped today. Well, the second question.
Okay, I don't know.
Second question, we got 50%
I put it this way. Those last two guesses we were able to like. The third guess we
Narrow
were
it
close.
down.
Listen, anything.
You had a 1 in. There were 29 chance at that time.
Listen, we had a 129 chance.
So-
Okay, that was a solid guess. We got the year right, and the Forest Lawn question. Like, I think us being within 5 years of something that happened in 1849 is
Yeah.
pretty
No,
impressive.
yeah, that's not bad.
Very
not
impressive.
bad. Well,
Can we just be honest for 1 second though?
yeah,
If I did not say 1847, what would you have said?
1830. Like I was gonna go
Alright,
1800s. Like that was my initial guess, and then
With me saying it's pretty close.
yeah,
give
yeah.
it-
No,
yeah.
that tossed
he
me.
was pretty close.
Yeah, no, I would have been 1800s for
All
sure.
right, I thought so. Yeah,
Mhm. But without further ado, that's going to do it for the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Callie, and I've been joined by Dom Loss and Mike Marino, and we're kicking off season 2, baby. Dom, how do you always end these?
Go Bills.
Go Bills.